we have an awesome series, but I think we will. I'm a bit worried about the first map. Like you said, it's Everdream once again. And today, Everdream has just not been that fun. Hopefully, it's going to be better this time.
Well, hopefully he's keeping that in mind. In the bottom left, as the blue Terran champion of the Open Cups, he is HeRoMaRinE.
And the mind games coming out of Gerald, kind of misspelling the name of Gabe. On the top right side, of course, I just said his name. But you guys already knew it. Hailing from Poland, it is Gerald.
I think some people are going to be bothered by he's using two different forms of Geralt and Gerald. This guy really needs to get his decision, made. T or D.
Yeah, that's the funny thing. Yeah, it's funny. Like, he spells his name in different ways as well. And he's also one of these guys who's like, hey, man, like, how do you pronounce your name? Is it like Gerald or Gerald? He's like, both is fine. I was like, yeah, that doesn't help. Like, you got to go with one or the other. I don't know. I've always gone with Gerald, but you guys were calling him Gerald before. So then I was like, okay, I'll go with Gerald too. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. After playing so much of The Witcher, you think I would actually, 100% remember how that guy's name is said, but I went with Geralt, and I think that's how it's said, but as we mentioned, apparently the player, Geralt, doesn't actually care. So you guys get annoyed. It'll be the one annoyance. Hopefully the quality of the games will make up for it, because I really do hope that we see longer games. You kind of said HeRoMaRinE, let's Geralt, we finally have games that don't just have one thing lead to another and then very abruptly end. I would love if our games didn't have that happen, because that's really been the story of our games. One thing, and then, okay, the game is over pretty much.
Well, look at this. It seems like HeRoMaRinE is going to go for the opening that Clem used last Monday evening against Showtime on this map, where it's basically a double Marauder with concussive shells and one Marine, and then you just walk to the other side of the map. I think these kind of builds are really funny, because if Gerald knows it and he has a shield battery in his natural, this opening does nothing. Absolutely zero nada. And you actually have an easier way as a Protoss to get into the mid game, because the factory is obviously a whole lot later and you don't have too much to worry about. There's also some moments where you don't really figure this out, and that is what happened with Showtime and Clem. And then Clem ran to the other side of the map, and I think he killed 7 probes, 2 stalkers, an adept, and a sentry. Don't even ask how that's possible with 2 Marauders and a Marine, but it happened. I just hope that that's not going to happen this time.
This is cool. I saw him rally the barracks, and I was like, he's trying to trap that adept. That's exactly what's happening. Of course, the adept knows what's on now, but she can't help anymore. Or maybe if she had just gotten to the Rex Scout in the tech lab, she actually could have come back home and helped. So is there enough time to build a shield battery? That's the question. Is there enough time to pump out another stalker? I think so as well. Getting one less unit still might not matter as much as having that shield battery.
No, absolutely not. I will gladly lose my adept for the heads up here. I think just knowing that this is coming is the only thing that really matters. Gerald with 2 stalkers and a battery, he's not even going to take any damage here at all. I think it's okay. I mean, the adept is there to scout. It scouted, it went down. Who really cares? It got what it really needed to see. And at this point, wow, look at that. Gerald is going charge before blink. He's like, you know what? I've seen enough nonsense today on Everdream. I see everybody just roll over and die against the first Terran push. Not me. I'm going to have charge 5 minutes into the game.
Well, how do you think this is going to, size up to what HeRoMaRiNE's actually doing here? We do have the 3 racks open. It's going to be a lot of emphasis on the bio, not much on tanks, or maybe not even at all on tanks. So I would say this is a pretty typical follow-up to that Marauder opener. We saw TY do it in TSL. He proxied, then went Marauders, then went 3 racks. We're talking about charge actually being better. I mean, maybe it's actually a question of charge or blink being better, but rather just how many gateways he's going to have. He's just going to have the same production capabilities with more than HeRoMaRiNE.
I'm actually very worried for Gerald. Now, obviously, Zealots can snowball out of control real quick if they get a good fight, if HeRoMaRiNE messes up positioning, messes up his stim timing. But this game is probably going to get really wild, because Gerald is already building a Warp Prism. He's going to send the Warp Prism to the other side of the map. If HeRoMaRiNE just sits at home, if he literally just sits at home, he builds a bunker in the front, I think HeRoMaRiNE is going to win this game easily. The Stim Bio inside of a Terran's main base with that Stim City to work with does fantastic against unupgraded Zealots. If HeRoMaRiNE is out on the map, this game will just get really wild. And especially if Gerald keeps some units at home. Okay, I have no idea what's going to happen here, because Gerald's moving out. HeRoMaRiNE thought about moving out, and he's now actually going to turn around. He sees
Nice.
charge. That is a massive tell. And if I'm Gabe here immediately, I build probably 2 bunkers, one in the front and one in my main. Why the hell not? It's going to keep you safe. You can always salvage them. I would really go for a bunker or 2 here.
I think you sized up this potential perfectly. If he's out on the map, this is where Geralt looks better. If he's defending, he now has a ton of bio units with their upgrades already prepared, but I don't see any bunkers coming down. This might be a little bit of overconfidence. He was already suspicious not seeing a third Nexus. That charge should have really been the reveal, and he's not actually getting anything. In fact, a little bit supply block, so his medevacs are also going to be a tiny bit later, and Geralt is here. His War Prism in the main is totally undetected. There was nothing over to that right side. A big mistake from HeRoMaRinE, and he's going to have to pull a lot of his army upwards and away from his natural.
Yep, I think Gabe will always survive here. The question just is how many workers is he going to lose in the process? So far, the answer is not much because he has so many units. The War Prism is actually in range of these bio units. Gerald with some missed micro. The War Prism goes down. The Zealots might kind of win the fight, but in my opinion, you really want more here. If you're Gerald, if you're opening up with charge, he's going to get a few STVs, but this was not good enough. If he had a Forge and he had +1 on the way now, or even double Forge, he'd be like, yeah, I don't hate it. But losing the Prism there, that also makes it so much easier for HeRoMaRinE to move out right now.
Yeah, there was a lot of potential for the tugged back to the natural, back to the main, back to the natural. Overstimming could have been an issue with such limited medevac energy, and instead he loses the War Prism. Not only can he not continue to even attempt to apply like fake pressure, he also can't attempt to buy any more time from the very real pressure that HeRoMaRinE is not coming across the map for. HeRoMaRinE, I guess he knew that he would be fine. He absolutely was correct about that. War Prism was no big deal, and now Geralt is relying on Storm that isn't quite ready to go.
Nope, and it's not like that close to finishing up either, right? If it was like 10, 15 seconds away, I'd be like, yeah, maybe. I mean, Gerald is chrono boosting out as quick as possible, but this is where HeRoMaRinE is going to take advantage of the fact that Gerald has 0 observers out on the map. Just 0 observers means you cannot be in position all the time. HeRoMaRinE picks up on powers a lot of stuff over here. I don't want to call it an Artosis Pylon, but it's a pretty big one. That one, however, I would say is an Artosis Pylon, as now all the gateways are pretty much unpowered. We might get a storm or 2, and the storms are good, but the damage has already been dealt.
Yeah, a lot of production going down. And it's very lucky, actually, that Templar Archives wasn't on some of those single pylons. That's what I was worried about. If he didn't have Storm at all, I think his entire army gets depleted here. But at least he can try to continue to hold on. He did save some of those High Templars. And he still has some production once it is repowered. But he's going to have to deal with not just the direct attacks of HeRoMaRinE, but yeah, absolutely the drop potential, which he's not really set up to deal with such limited units. His third Nexus is up, and it is saturated, but now HeRoMaRiNE's is too.
I think Gerald's build would have been really good against one of these builds that Soul and Thermal did. Because you have 5-minute charge, there's a bunch of unupgraded Marines there that are just protecting a tank. You swarm that army, you're like, yeah! And you'll just like take a monstrous lead because it's going to be the easiest hold of your life. Going up against Stim Bio is not an ideal scenario. But I think there was still some potential there indeed with the War Prism, like you said, right? You warp in a few more in the net, then you go back into the main base, and he really could have bought a lot of time for himself to get his 3-base economy going as well. This has just been a disastrous game. I mean, yeah, he kind of survived, but in my opinion, he is, as I like to call, super dead. But we'll see. Maybe he can turn it around. There is a new Prism showing up in the main base. And this is actually somewhat annoying. Gabe is probably going to be a little upset about this one. Oh, Gerald, you got to be so careful. Yes.
He's not going to lose the War Prism this time. There's some potential for those Widow Mines to kind of hit the Terran Zone units, but it didn't really happen. Just going to tuck that away and hope to get a lot more SCVs later, because a lot of these are very, very low. HeRoMaRiNE's coming in with a second push, this time a direct push to the face with Ghosts, and that is going to be difficult for Geralt to actually hold. He's going to have to split. His War Prism's not here to carry around his Storms. Here comes the first EMP. It's actually still 3 Storms in his pocket. He's barely holding on here.
Yeah, he's still being annoying with Zealots on the other side of the map. The Zealots are being F2'd a little bit, not getting crazy damage yet. Widow Mines actually connecting with a High Templar. There, the War Prism flying over the Terran army barely does live. Another good EMP by Gabe. The problem is, how do you engage this if you're Gerald? Like, you just don't have the unit count. So the only thing he can really hope for is that HeRoMaRinE attacks into him, is way too clumped up, and a big storm lands in the center of this army. But this is not Big Gabe's first rodeo. He's even showing up a little bit now by sending a Ghost with a medevac forward, unloading the Ghost, landing an EMP. Yeah, this is where Gabe would normally say on his stream, Gerald is the content now.
Even with the storms hitting, he's got so many Marauders that just, I mean, they're doing fine. They have medevacs healing them. They're constantly surviving. The Immortals can't quite burst them down before they just evacuate. And this is going to be it. There is too big of an arm supply difference. Disruptor's out now, but is it going to get a good shot? Not as good as it needs to be. If it had been out a little bit sooner, if there was 2-3 Disruptors joining in that army, I'd say that's a potential, but without a secondary form of splash, Gerald is not going to do it in this game.
No, he's got a lot of minerals and a lot of gas in the bank, but to be fair, he lost his cybernetic score earlier, and of course, all of his gateways were unpowered as well, so GG gets called. Gabe takes a 1-0 lead in this series. You know, it's very easy to be like, Gerald's macro wasn't on point, but obviously the reason his macro wasn't on point is because everything got unpowered. It's pretty much impossible to keep your money low if you're losing power to 6 gateways and a robo for quite some time. I mean, you're always going to float a little bit there.
Yeah, and as much as you would like to be able to be like, well, I'll just spend it on robo, units, it's like you can't afford 2 robo either. Like, you're only going to be able to afford so much of that crucial production, and just the speed at which you can get it is also not going to be that fast. Again, like I said, if he had 3 disruptors when he had also storms, then HeRoMaRinE once again has to kind of reevaluate how he pushes in. But the only storm as the available option, EMP splitting easy peasy. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think that, you called it, we talked about it already. The opening was great as far as what we've seen from Terran. It's just that coincidentally, HeRoMaRinE is going for the 3 rocks, not any tank pressure.
Yep.
And he also did a good job of not just saying, okay, I'm the one leading the charge here. He actually scouted. Because, yeah, if he was in the middle of the map, suddenly charge looks good again. But it just really is unfortunate that worked out that way. I wonder if Gerald thought he could make charge work into that 3 rocks, because, I don't know, it feels like the most common follow-up for, all the games I've seen with that Marauder opener. Am I wrong? Are there more factory follow-ups I don't see?
No, like I do think this is indeed common, but sometimes it's just 2 racks as well, right? It's 2 racks into quick medevacs. Like, it's been a little bit of everything. I don't think you can say for certain that Terran players will always go X, Y, or Z, but like you briefly touched upon it there. You're like, yeah, HeRoMaRinE scouted. That one Marine on the right side is super crucial, because that Marine is like, wait a minute, you've got charge 5 minutes into the game? The game is like, all right, I'll just sit at home. I thought he might have needed a bunker if Gerald would have gone super all in, but Gerald was actually going up to 3 bases, so then even without bunkers, it was a relatively easy hold. Zealots are great in a wide open area against Bio, especially if there are no medevacs there, right? Because they'll get on top of it. But inside of the Terran main base, we know how Zealots are. They suddenly start looking at refineries and they're like, I really want to kill this refinery right now. It's like, no! And then obviously Terran armies, like, they clump up inside of mineral lines as well. It's just not a place for Zealots to fight Bio. We'll see what Game 2 has in store for us. You know what? Earlier today, I wasn't feeling it. After these short games we've had so far, I am feeling some Eternal Empire, okay? I just want to see a long game at this point. In the bottom left side, we're looking at the main base of the Polish Protoss. He's down 0-1. It is Gerald.
In the top right, as the blue Terran, he is HeRoMaRinE, still representing Mouse Esports. I mean, years and years after we first signed with them, dude. It's a long time.
Yeah, very loyal.
It is kind of funny, you brought up Eternal Empire. I thought, me and Wardy kind of joked, we were like, I think you're going to be disappointed. And yet, of the 3 maps that we could have seen in all of the previous series, guys, this is the first time Eternal actually made it to playable map, not vetoed. So I don't know if other people are bored of it, or they favored the mid game more so than the late game. And, some people were obviously wrong, but that's the first time we're going to see it.
I do feel a little bit sad about Gerald, because I would have loved to see how his build would have done against a traditional Gabe opening, where maybe he sends like a Liberator into the main base and then he does make a Marine tank push with a couple SCVs. Because that's the difference, right, between looking amazing or suddenly being in a really awkward spot. If Gabe would have just done that kind of a build, then I honestly think we're all sitting here, we're like, oh, Gerald just completely smashed the attack. He's in a great spot now. He feels great. This was just one of the most unfortunate scenarios. You can clearly see that he's been thinking about it. He's like, how do I want to play Everdream? He's like, all right. He's like, I've got an ace up my sleeve. It's kind of unfortunate that Gabe wasn't playing the same way as every other Terran did up to this point.
It really was a smart choice. Like, I think we really have to emphasize that, because no doubt people are like, oh, obviously HeRoMaRinE wins. Like, even if he had a bad build, like, no, it actually could have been a very, very, very good idea. But now he's down 1, maybe not in a position is ever anticipated being. I mean, even the best laid plans don't work out, right? That's exactly what happened here. But it still is quite a bummer to think that you've got this clever thing and then it just doesn't work. HeRoMaRinE just wasn't going for it. And I was going to try and do something a little bit different on Eternal Empire, a Stargate opener.
I like it. We've seen it quite a bit over the last few weeks. Seems like more and more pros are coming on board of the Stargate. For the longest time, this was always Oracle. We've seen more and more Phoenix openings lately as well. Obviously, Phoenix Colossus is popular. I kind of don't want to see Gerald play Phoenix Colossus against Gabe. I feel Gabe has a couple of very strong timings against that. So we'll see. If he goes Phoenix, I would love Phoenix Twilight. I know it's not the meta right now, but because it's not the meta, I actually think Phoenix Twilight is very good.
Well, he already threw out one build that you would usually never see, with that early charge lot build, so I could see him doing it here, but that, yeah, we're gonna have to wait and see about the technology choice of Gerald. HeRoMaRinE is going for a 1/1/1. We could maybe see a swap off. I'm not entirely sure about that for the starport. Adept actually got a little in over her head. Oh my god, oh my god. Okay, she's good.
Adept or her? I never knew.
Well, I mean, it's actually debatable, I suppose, right? Like, what is Protoss?
Okay, true, I guess. I know so little about the lore and storyline of StarCraft, you have no idea. It's actually kind of embarrassing. People are like, hey, Roddy, did you like that mission in the campaign? I was like, I never made it that far. They're like, what? I was like, sorry, man. Leather was available. I started leathering and I never looked back.
You're talking to a person who actually read the books, man.
I'm sorry.
Serious lore nerd. Yeah, you know, some of them aren't that great, but anyways. No, so I was wondering if that was going to be a swap off just because of the positioning of his starport in his factory, but I was like, I don't really feel like HeRoMaRiNE's a Banshee player. No, he just is going to go into Cyclone Viking, opening up against that Stargate, which needed scouts, right? I mean, he didn't scout it directly, but maybe he saw something. Anyways, he could even do a push off of this. He's going to go ahead and push out with his units, but it's actually Phoenix, not the Oracle.
This is actually a good fight here for Gerald. Definitely killed the Viking, and now he's going to lift the Cyclone as well. I don't think the Marines are going to be in time to save it. This is so good for Gerald, because it seemed like Gabe for one of his pushes. Now I don't think he can really do it, because what normally allows you to move to the other side of the map as a Terran is that the Phoenixes don't want to come close, because that Cyclone is going to lock on the Phoenixes every single time. That one Adept at the Xel'Naga Watchtower, kind of functioning as a big debate, makes this a really solid start for Gerald. I'm feeling it, Jess. I'm feeling it. Long game.
It's been, fortuitous so far. The Adept wasn't even supposed to be alive. It was supposed to die, so good setup. I am still wondering exactly how HeRoMaRinE was thinking about the setup here, because he didn't actually scout. So I don't know if I missed the Phoenix, but it was really nice that it was Phoenix, not that Oracle passing through, which the Cyclone and Viking would have absolutely bopped. And now the Phoenix can kind of take control. The SCVs are going to be vulnerable to this until they have missile turrets, but then it's also a decision from Gerald. Can he actually do any harassment when he sees the army is moving out? So he's going to go for the Marines.
The Liberator in the natural. That's very important. I wouldn't even mind a recall here. Just don't go too far out of position. Gerald did not see this Liberator. Oh no, the Phoenixes flew over the Marines as well in the center. All of this is actually starting to go a little bit bad. That Stalker is now in range of the Liberator Circle as well, which was super unnecessary. He does clean this up, but this, of course, will allow HeRoMaRinE to take a good position. He's opening up Disruptor over here. Okay.
That might work out and help take out the bunkers. Although it is a very slow process, only off of a single disruptor. He's trying to go into charge. That third Nexus already being attacked. Bunkers already forming. He's down 2 Phoenix already because of that missed micro, because of that Liberator. And even his Stalkers are also injured more than they should be. This is going to be a tough hold, even with the supercharged battery. He's not going to be able to bust the bunkers. The Immortal intentionally doing that. That was actually kind of a nice combo. I thought maybe it was a mistake, but I realized what he was going for, even trying to bait some of those Marines. Good pickup there from HeRoMaRinE. He's going to try and bust this down before the bunkers are done. One's almost finished, but very weak. Wow. The tank's going down to the Immortal. Phoenix lifts the other one out of the equation. The bunker's done, but not enough repair. That is a start to the hold, but he didn't actually push that back.
No, but the medevac is very low on HP now, so maybe if that medevac goes down, everything becomes a little bit easier. You do really want to keep your Nexus alive at all costs. Purification Nova does a lot of damage to the tank. I like what Gerald is doing here so far. That Immortal needs to shoot at the Cyclone. That's what it does as well. This bunker will finally go up, but there are no SCVs to repair it. If I'm Gerald, just go for it. You really can't afford to lose that Nexus. He knows that as well. Take care of the tank. That is exactly what's going to happen. That bunker is going to fall as well. A couple of zealots are going to save the day. This is a hold. It wasn't an easy hold. He had to work very hard for it, lost a lot in the process, but it is a hold. And HeRoMaRinE, his third command center, is not even an orbital yet. Well done there. That was not easy, but I think Gerald handled it pretty well.
Yeah, you know what I really liked about that is that I think we have still seen a lot of pros not quite be used to the overcharge battery. You know, they'll kind of remember it, but they don't necessarily like pre-plan it. And I feel like that was one of the best examples of actually pre-planning it. He wanted to send the Immortal forward. He knew it could survive those tank shots if it had the battery. And that was really cool. It was a good start. And then at the end of the day, that Immortal is still alive as well, despite getting very, very low. So I'm impressed as well. His macro does slip a little bit here with a major supply block, but at least he can get started on his upgrades. So Blink and Expand Thermal Lance are finally on the way.
Yeah, the big downside of all of this is that he lost every single Phoenix pretty much in the process of defending that. Well, he actually lost all 5 Phoenixes. And that's a big deal because Phoenixes are just so nice to have against Terran players. They're great at shutting down Liberators. They could potentially shut down a random Viking like this. But hey, if you want to head into that Disruptor Colossus composition anyway with a couple of Blink Stalkers and a lot of Zealots with charge, maybe it's okay. Maybe the Phoenixes are not that necessary there anymore. It is important, though, that Gerald keeps producing probes. I feel like the probe production has been a little on and off over the last 2 minutes. And this is why HeRoMaRinE has all of a sudden taken a 10-worker lead. And of course, you can say, like, it's almost 3 base saturation anyway for Gerald. This is not that bad. You don't really want to be down 10 workers when you don't have to be against a Terran player.
I think some of that was just kind of calming yourself down after defending that, and then also that supply block. So, all right, that's it doesn't look as good as it was looking before the big spike here. Like the orbital wasn't done, as you pointed out. We thought that might be a big boost to Gerald's economy. Not so much, but he does have a little bit of freedom here, since HeRoMaRinE wasn't just a bit later to his 3rd CC. He was also later to a lot of those upgrades that gave some time for Gerald to breathe, to get to Colossus, to get to upgrades, and actually finalize his 4th base and have it covered by shield batteries and cannons. So he should be feeling comfortable right now. Like, obviously, you don't think you're in that much of a lead or anything like that, but at least comfortable, especially if he can track the pushes with his stalkers.
I know the kind of weird recall. I'm not exactly sure why. We've got a cool fight happening in the bottom right side between a Viking and a Phoenix. The Phoenix will win it. HeRoMaRinE seems like he's eager to snipe that Phoenix if he can. He even stims for it. Really wanted it. It's like, you took down my Viking? I'll get you. I think Gerald should be okay. The one thing I would have really loved to see, though, a bit earlier, is a second Robo. Because I feel like a lot of the power of the composition that he's going to head into are, of course, these Robo units. If we're 10 minutes into the game, just Zealots and Stalkers, they won't really win you games unless you're like 2 upgrades ahead, or in an insane case, 4 upgrades ahead. Right now, these gateway units, they don't do much for you, so I would have loved to see double Robo production.
I think I agree. You know, I guess there's not EMPs available, so we're usually, that's the second step here for Terrans directly into Ghost. That won't be available, but that's only a concern if Storm's actually done, if he actually has high Templars, and if he can actually kind of, you know, circumvent these tanks as well. The tank count's still pretty high, being a really obnoxious anchor to the Terran push that Gerald's trying to get a surround on instead of just blindly pushing in through.
I mean, he is setting up a big flank here from the left side, so this could be kind of cool, but if the disruptor shots don't connect, I'm really not too sure about it. HeRoMaRinE is going to stim forward, snipe one of the disruptors. That's a really cool play. Gerald's going to go for it. 3 of the tanks are sieged up. 2 of them were not sieged up. The Phoenix is going to help out as well. It's kind of a crazy fight, but I think the DPS of this bio army is just a little too much.
You know, I think that was a very good idea, but I think there was some problems with the split timing and the split type. But at the end of the day, at least he pushes this back. He might even be able to get a blink. Okay, he's got 3 Stalkers, so never mind. But losing 13 probes, at least he saved the Nexus. He did end up saving at least 2 of his Robo units as well. They didn't just walk in like they were going to do and die. So, I mean, there's some things to be said at the end of that, but let's take an overall look at the situation. Ghost Academy is now on the way. Gerald at least has that Storm potential over his opponent. And, well, okay, actually the upgrade lead's about to disappear, so it was still a nasty fight for sure. but the way it started, I actually thought that was going to be GG.
Yeah, same. When I saw all those bio units run towards the fort base, it was like, oh my goodness, like, is this it? Well, it's not it yet, but it's also not looking good, because Gabe often prides himself on his macro, and we definitely can't take that away from him, right? During all of this, he got 4 bases up and running. He's still sitting on 77 SCVs. He's always getting ready for that next phase of TVP. We see a second starport, we see the first Ghost Star on the way, and hence shockwaves, of course, are going to be researched as well. So if Gerald wants to win this game, he's pretty much going to have to defeat the ultimate Terran army that is not battle cruisers.
Right, yeah. The non-battle cruiser, but still pretty darn complete Terran army. The Vikings not only going to be able to help against the Colossus, but also against the Warp Prism High Templar play. It's going to be very careful with that, and his Warp Prism micro was not perfect last game. I think the more important thing for me, I'm looking at the disruptor count. You know, that's what starts to really trip up Terrans in the later game, forces them to play a different style than just like, you know, me push, you push, me push. And that count's just not very high so far. And we still don't have access to that double robo, which going into a 5th Nexus, I again want to say that I hope he slaps one down.
I'm going to get a Dark Shrine as well. Still warping in a lot of Zealots. Like, I love Zealots, but these are just scenarios where I don't really feel the potential of the Zealot, right? There is a planetary fortress and a massive army close to you. You can maybe counterattack, but if Gabe always builds these bunkers in very pesky positions, and Zealots will just derp forever, one by one they will attack that bunker in that choke point. I would love to see him actually work just towards a stronger main army, rather than being worried and occupied by trying to get some run-bys going. I would say just focus on winning a fight.
Mm-hmm. And I know hindsight's 2020, but I also kind of wish that Gerald had gone for the other Nexus. Like, HeRoMaRinE so far is thinking about direct fights. And with his powerful position, although those storms are pretty good, I don't think he was expecting to be corralled into that corner, so he wasn't quite prepared. At least he grabs 1 High Templar for it. The Zealots did get on top of the 3rd base, but you're talking about that bunker. It is so difficult to actually deal with in that nice tucked away position. Only 7 SCVs went down. Not a bad start to that first fight, though. But to finish my point, this is still HeRoMaRinE just thinking about the direct fight. And Gerald might actually be able to continue pushing the buttons of harassment and maybe expanding to other sides than that.
Gabe not that worried right now, as he realized there was only a single disruptor. EMPs are going to land on this army as well, and this Terran army just seems so much more powerful than the Protoss army. Gerald, there's a lot of Zealots on the other side of the map, but once again, that bunker might actually fall finally. It took like 17 Zealots, but we're getting there.
The Zealots are also attacking a command center. They might find a couple of ghosts, which is usually a very good trade, but what about the main fight? Back down the 5th base of Gerald. He did actually take not a terrible start. It turns out that he had a lot of High Templars actually tucked away somewhere like a very good Protoss should, and they had plenty of energy after HeRoMaRinE had already thought he had bursted many of them down. He still has a good ghost count, but Gerald's actually doing a good job holding on after that kind of scary first push around this base.
Yeah, no, he's definitely kind of holding his own, and he's got a couple of disruptors out once again. He's still doing all of this, guys, of a single robo, which must mean that these Colossus have been alive for forever, and the Viking count was actually quite high at one point. I'm not sure if Gerald... Yeah, no, Gerald knows about everything. He's going to try to take out the Orbitor here. HeRoMaRinE has to lift this. There is a missile turret as well. The SCV is just so annoying. This is starting to deal a little bit of damage, but this is expensive for Gerald. Like, he's warping in 12 Zealots at a time, and he's not maxed out. He doesn't have 3-3 upgrades yet. This is a mistake by HeRoMaRinE, of course, as these ghosts got a little overeager. 1 Archon did go down, though, but... Yeah. We have a game, Jess. We have a game.
Yeah, we do. I'm really excited about this. Eternal Empire, once again, living up to the hype. I mean, sometimes, despite being a macro map, we kind of have those lame endings, but this one is certainly looking good. The upgrades have gotten pretty favorable here for HeRoMaRinE, something we haven't really mentioned, but Disruptors, they don't care about that. Storms don't necessarily care about that. And Gerald is still holding on, but as the Liberator count starts to grow, now we have a new problem to talk about, right? And Gerald's still in a position where it is a very short push for HeRoMaRinE to go from defending his base to attacking Gerald. And if he doesn't prepare for these Liberators, I don't know what he's going to be able to do, because preparing for Liberators usually either means Tempest, which he's not getting to, or it means controlling the map and being on their side of the map. Well, they're fighting over the same portion of the map. So how does he get on top of the Liberators before they're already sieged up and protected?
Yep, HeRoMaRinE realizing that as well as he drops the fusion core, of course, for those advanced ballistics. And that's where Disruptors are going to have a really hard time landing those big shots. Gerald is now going to split up even more units on the left top side. He is determined on, I think, killing that bunker. I think at this point it became personal for Gerald, and he's like, whatever I do, I'm going to kill that bunker. I like how there's 4 very low HP Marines inside of that bunker, by the way. They've been stimming forever.
Not the Colossus, he's lived forever. Yeah, those Marines are doing God's work up there. It's gonna be funny when he gets building armor finally, and that also upgrades his Neo Steel frames. But I feel like this is actually the panic moment, right? Like Gerald realizes the Liberator count's gone a little bit out of control, and I feel like, yeah, stay your ground for as long as possible, but I think he has to get mentally prepared to give up that base and just kind of revolve around the map.
Oh, the storm as all the SCVs were clumped up to repair that bunker, but that bunker is still alive. Are you kidding me? No, Gerald, just give up. You can't kill that bunker. The amount of resources he spent on killing that bunker has been outrageous. Of course, he got a whole bunch of SCVs in the process as well. He will lose every single unit there. Oh, he's going to try to land the shot on the Ghost. Oh my goodness, the flanking. Disruptor gets 7 Ghosts. I called it before we even started the series. Can we talk about the Disruptor chest?
I think it's pretty overpowered, but you know what else looks pretty darn good? Liberators with eventual range. They already have +2, but they're all facing the wrong direction. Gerald actually circumvented the army entirely. The tanks not getting great shots either on the concave, but here comes the rest of the bio. That's what was missing. The Liberators might not have helped during the start of the fight, but it turns out they weren't necessary, I suppose. High Templars might once again hold that position around the 5th base, but that was a scary push for both sides. Now Liberators can rejoin with the army. That 5th base now looks once again vulnerable.
Look at Gerald's bank, Jess. Sorry to interrupt you, but look at that. He's floating 3k, mate. Please add 10 more gateways for all I care. He's got 13, but still just a single robo. If Gerald spends his money now, he could win this game, but he's just not able to.
Exactly right.
7,000 resources.
He took down a lot of the slow-building units of the Terran, and, if you can do that remax on even the Gateway army on the ground, it can be very scary. Instead, he can't, and he never got that 2nd or 3rd robo. I think he just didn't realize he was getting into a good economic position after being, so long, kind of feeling like he was on the back foot, and now he's really regretting it. We got a mass DT warp in, hoping to buy some time. He has to get up this base, but if he gives up this base, his 4th base could fall as well.
Yeah, but I think you can actually give this up. With the bank that he has, I think you can give this base up. It's not that important. Just don't lose your army at this point. Also, for everybody at home, if you're ever in a scenario like this, as the Disruptor gets picked off as well, just run away, Gerald, and spend your money. This is actually a moment where 13 Zealots would be pretty damn good, if you ask me, because that army is already quite low on HP. Where are the Zealots? Come on, warp in something. There we go.
Finally on the way, but a Colossus appears, and it is not actually safe, but the blink forward looked okay. It quickly turns around. EMPs, Marauders with Medivacs, Liberators sieging up as his Stalker count has been halved here. He's forced to replace those as opposed to making more Zealots, and his DT counterattacks are trying to do their best, but they're not actually holding that well. Oh my god, actually offensive DTs. Sorry, defensive DTs. I didn't think that's where he was using them. They just blew up the top of that army and destroyed the bio. Stalkers clean up the Liberators, and they did kill 14 SCVs.
Oh, and that means that Gerald weathers the storm. And even though the supplies may look somewhat close, he is in a beautiful position at this point, because he's still 35 workers ahead, and he's still floating 4,000 resources that he's now finally, slowly but steady, starting to burn through. GG gets called. Gerald wins a 20-minute game on Eternal. I love this map. I've always loved this map. It was always my friend.
Roddy has never once complained about this map ever.
Never.
Oh man, that was a great game. Those it was turning into a position where HeRoMaRinE didn't have a lot of economy. His 5th base didn't actually get up and running, as well as he took those bases around fights around Gerald's 4th, and he was starting to run low, but it looked like such a good army, right? Like Gerald was constantly struggling to have the right composition, be in the right position, and then he finally used his bank. We're harping on that. Finally used his bank, and the DTs, I feel like not only was that a really good decision, it was also a decision that's going to set HeRoMaRinE a little more off than he already is after losing that game. He's going to be like, DT blink, super cool. Super cool.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, that's it with Protoss. All of it is good, actually. No, I was a bit worried that Gerald was so focused on those counterattacks, and I never think the counterattacks really did like that much. They slowly but steady chipped away at the SCV count, but what it definitely did do is keep HeRoMaRinE busy and force HeRoMaRinE to look at spots where he wasn't looking. And that's what eventually allowed Gerald to take that high ground in the center of the map and actually engage that Terran army where all the Liberators were indeed facing in the wrong direction. And we gotta give a shout out to that one Disruptor, by the way, killing 7 ghosts with a single shot. Whew, what a game.
That was a sick game. I think we can kind of look back at it now as like a whole picture, and it was I think a lot of Gerald taking that left base, that gave him a bank that he didn't realize he was accruing. I think it is one of those situations where you're just so focused on the here and now on the defense that you're like, oh no, I actually have a ton of money. And I'm glad that he did that. I think, not only did he not go for the gateways that he should have and the robos that he should have, but he also could have just been entirely like horse blinders on. It's all about this position. And that would have meant he didn't have any bank at all, which did end up really helping him actually win that overall game. But taking that left base, keeping HeRoMaRinE on his toes, and eventually getting that stronger economy, that was a great use of it, and just great use of positioning as well. Gerald really showing what he has to, I guess, show in late game TVP at the very least. So we'll see if HeRoMaRinE gets angry, does something a little more aggressive in the mid game, or what. But we're heading into Death Aura for our third game.
Let's not forget that game started off with that Marine tank push that I honestly think if you add a Viking and a Cyclone on top of that push, like if you saw how close it was at this point, right, where we needed multiple warpins, power batteries, extra batteries, in the end barely defending. If HeRoMaRinE doesn't lose that Cyclone and Viking early on to those Phoenixes, I actually think that Gerald is in way more trouble, because I just don't know if his build can really deal with that. But that hold in the end was really good. Yeah, it was a bit messy. Yes, he lost a lot of Phoenix. Maybe after that the macro wasn't perfect, but the fact that he defended that in the first place, once those bunkers started going up, I was already pretty impressed by it, because I was very worried that the game was just going to end there.
Yeah, he ended up making some very good long-term decision-making. Maybe some of the short-term stuff didn't go as well as it was supposed to, but long-term, it really paid off there for Gerald. That was Eternal Empire, a very friendly map to everyone, basically, at this point. Death Aura definitely a bit different, especially when it comes to the 4th and 5th bases. In the top left of game number 3, we do have the red Protoss for Exxon. He is Gerald.
In the bottom left side of Death Aura, we're looking at the main base of the man who's been struggling a little bit in this matchup lately, but he's still the biggest of Gabes. It is HeRoMaRinE.
Still the king, man. Still comes into an open cup and is like, this is mine, this is mine, this is mine. A couple people try and topple him every now and again, but he's got a lot of points thanks to those.
All right, let's talk about the mental warfare of these initial messages, okay? In game 1, Gerald spelled HeRoMaRinE with way too many capitalized letters. I think it kind of pissed Gabe off. Game 2, Gerald's like, I shouldn't do that. Now in game 3, HeRoMaRinE hits him back with the GOHF all in caps lock. What does it really mean?
I don't know, man. Are you one of those believers of like how they open the good luck, have fun determines if they're a cheeser or not?
Maybe not necessarily, but I think it says a lot about the mood. People in caps lock are never happy. And Gabe is not happy right now.
I mean, maybe that's what I'm appearing to my ladder opponents, because what happens is I'm trying to desperately A move, who needs micro, and I accidentally hit that caps lock button, so don't realize it usually until I've said good luck, have fun. I do think that the best mental warfare of the early GGs or good luck, have fun so far goes to Sue, who has been using ...
Yeah.
Or ...
Good. GG ... good luck. Good luck ... Actually, I would like to make that my new standard. That's a really fun way to open.
You're gonna get so many people ask you what that means on ladder. Like, what's up? What are you doing? Nothing. What's wrong with it? That's kind of weird. Anyways, that's the ultimate mind game. But I think Sue also felt very comfortable with everyone he did that to. I don't know if Gerald feels so buddy with HeRoMaRinE, especially after the DTs.
All right, Twilight Council is going to be the opening here for Gerald, so he's not going for that back-to-back Phoenix build. Reaper actually almost got a hit off there. I mean, these interactions near those acceleration zones are just kind of weird, but I'm with you as well. I really expected to see some really cool clips and moments. Haven't really seen much yet, you know? They haven't had that much of an impact yet up to this point.
You know, people talked about this map initially like it was kind of short, and I was like, well, actually, it's not. But I don't remember who I was passing with, Maynard or Wood or someone. Anyways, like, when you take down the rocks on this map, suddenly it becomes short. But the acceleration zone just haven't been where the fights have taken place, as far as I've seen. So they're not affecting it. We got a little bit of a hidden pylon. Yeah, when the probe's still there, you know the Dark Shrine's coming down.
I mean, this is a build that obviously been haunting Gabe for a little bit after Zest did it to him multiple times in TSL. I didn't mention it, but I did see it in Game 1 on Everdream. When HeRoMaRinE wasn't exactly sure what he was going up against, he placed a turret in the center of his natural in the front. So not on his mineral line, literally at the front. So he was thinking about Dark Templars in Game 1. I wonder if he's thinking about Dark Templars in Game 3 as he's adding 2 more barracks. He's opening up with the Raven, so that's obviously always good if you go up against DTs. But we'll see.
I noticed that as well, and I think that is just... He has an idea of how this Pro player could play, probably thinks that he is the superior player, just, you know, MMR-wise and all that. But the Raven is going to be a nice opener, coincidentally, against this, as well as whatever he actually intended to use it for, which is probably more about, you know, anti-tower missiles later on. But in this case, it's going to shut down the DTs. We'll see how much. DT is definitely one of those units, kind of like Banshees, that there's theoretically perfect counters, and then they somehow just sneak in and do damage anyway.
Reaper Scout, by the way, in the bottom left.
Oh, well,
just HeRoMaRinE things.
Yep, that's... oh, well, that's... It's still a question of maybe, you know, War Prism comes out later on in the game. Robo's not done yet, but maybe they can do something later on, but they really shouldn't do anything in the early game.
Nope. And if I was Gerald, I wouldn't even run them in. Come on, at this point, you know that HeRoMaRinE will always be ready. Like, if it's super close, you can maybe still try, but it's so far away. So HeRoMaRinE has like 20 seconds to get ready for Dark Templars. It's never going to happen. He's actually just running up the ramp. Gerald, what are you doing? That's just not a good play at all. Gerald is a great player, but that is just not a good play. When you give somebody like HeRoMaRinE so much time to get ready for DTs, just running them up a ramp like that is not something you can ever justify.
Unfortunately, thinking that the army was still behind a bunker, probably, and that was just good placement from HeRoMaRinE as well. So a waste of 2 DTs, very unfortunate. And he also, you know, HeRoMaRinE knows where the structures are, so usually we can talk about them at least holding on until the mid game, until the late game, should we get there. Well, these are probably going to be found out with a couple of Marines and actually taken down. Blink is done. He's going into charge, but there's got to be some sacrifice somewhere, right? And in this case, it's definitely going to be in those upgrades, which were matching each other last game, even sometimes ahead for Gerald. This game, he's just not going to have any.
Oh man, this has been a pretty disastrous game so far for Gerald. He's lost 2 probes, he lost 2 Dark Templars, lost the Adept. Yeah, this we're going to need some magical storms. It's a little bit of a cliche, but that's kind of what all of this comes down to. The Raven is very far forward, gets the snipe. That Raven was accelerated by the acceleration zone. And well, we just mentioned how we rarely see it have an impact. I don't think Gabe expected that Raven to go that far ahead of the party. And now suddenly you can warp in a defensive DT at a time, and you're always going to be at least safe for now.
Depowering the Dark Shrine is not going to be enough. He could really warp in 1 DT at a time, but that time is slowly wasting away. I mean, soon enough, HeRoMaRiNE's going to be on top of him. But being so proactive with the Stalkers has turned out well. He will save the proxy gateway and just, you know, production, too, as he gets a little worried about defending the push. But it looks like he has. Char's going to finish up. Storm's going to finish up. He still won't have any upgrades, but he does not take any further damage from the already poor start to this game.
Yeah. I mean, sniping the Raven there is still a really big deal. There's 2 medevacs full of units, by the way, that are about to show up here. HeRoMaRinE is going to see that army. Oh, if he would have blinked towards the right. HeRoMaRinE picks up everything, actually wants to go into the main base. Gerald is currently only working with 3 gateways, and Jess, I'm afraid that is just not going to be enough. That's a lot of Protoss units. One of those gateways could potentially get unpowered here as well, having to go up the ramp. We have Storm, sure, but these High Templars are so far back.
It's 1 Storm. We'll see if it's a good enough split. On top of the Immortal with the charge lots, it kind of cuts off some of the Marines and does force the liftoff a fair defense considering, how late his production was, how out of position the important parts of his army was. Not bad for Gerald, who's up at 60 probes now, fully saturated on 3 bases, can start really churning out those zealots now that his production is done.
Yeah, the Dark Templar just accidentally scouted the double drop on the right side. That's so big as well. I don't know if he has any weapons available. It seems like the answer is no, but at least he knew it was there immediately. He's going to send over a couple of High Templars in the Immortal. And once again, does a very good job in not taking economic damage. I thought both drops were actually going to find a couple of probes here and there. That is not the case. Obviously, upgrade-wise, this is really bad. But hey, Storm doesn't care about upgrades last time I checked.
It does not, no. It's kind of a good cover alongside Disruptors, which he might start adding on with the Robotics Bay. This really did start with the Raven being sniped. The one-time acceleration zone seemed to have affected the game, and that's awesome. But usually, you still expect someone to take some damage somewhere after the failed DT opener. The fact that he has not taken any damage, really, even the Pearl Pool was temporary. It really has me reconsidering his position. Upgrades are still useful. The Zealot's going to disappear. The Immortals might not, chop down the Marauders fast enough type deal, but he's given himself a chance. And if we see a Warp Prism actually be used offensively, at any point, I think he can also buy himself a lot of time. Currently being used defensively.
I love this. This was the last Dark Templar. And Gabe is like, oh my god, BTs, I killed the Dark Shrine. He's going full zest on me. He's got another Dark Shrine. He's like, no, that's actually not the case. Gerald, where's your army at this point? Do you have an army? You have a lot of units somewhere. He has a couple of High Templars inside of the Warp Prism. I wouldn't mind overcharge being used here on the battery. There we go.
There we go. Yeah, Stalkers were considering another drop to the left. So they were very out of position. He's still very paranoid of a drop to the left. That's funny. That does look like most of the Terran army to our eyes, but we're near in game. It's deceiving.
Yeah, I love it. It's like 120 supply of Terran at his front door. He's like, where's the drop? I know it's coming. It's like, no, mate. This is actually it. It's a lot of Widowmine, so it's difficult to engage with Zealots, but there is some serious Storm potential here. There's not a single ghost in the mix. Really good splits, though, by HeRoMaRinE. And he actually gets close towards the mineral line now as well as the first probes starting to go down. Warp Prism goes down in the end with one more High Templar left inside of it. And Gerald might defend, but he's losing so many probes. He doesn't see that little hit spot behind his mineral line. Finally, he blinks, but this will also now expose the Archon. It's going to expose the Disruptor. The Storm is good. It's a crazy fight, but these trades are definitely way better for HeRoMaRinE than they are for Gerald.
Yeah, if he had kept the Disruptor alive, was adding on a second one again, double splash can complicate matters for the attacker. But now it's down to single splash, and in fact, not even that. All the storms are gone. No, one more storm, excuse me, but on top of Marauders, they would live through that. A snipe even being used. Don't see that too often anymore.
Yeah, Gabe likes the snipes. Especially when he's in a good spot, then he snipes a lot.
Yeah.
There's no observer here, right? So all these mines, they just stick around forever. Obviously, a Disruptor can blow up a mine, but the mines are very well spread. You're on fire!
They're Disruptor!
Oh my goodness, that's a good one! That is about as good of a shot as he was ever going to get. I still don't know if it's enough, but it gives us hope.
Oh, these High Templars don't actually have Storm. A couple Storms that have really helped out there. Instead, he loses 2 High Templars. Is down to the last one. That also is going to be sniped. A second Disruptor is on the way. He's on 4 bases by this entire time. We can't forget that. Like, if Gerald actually holds, it does eventually even out. If he can push HeRoMaRinE back once entirely, fully get him back to his side of the map, then we really have to consider Gerald in an okay position. And HeRoMaRinE, despite getting those 1-1 upgrades really quickly, did not go into 2-2 that quickly. So it's not like he's been just going on to 3-3, 4 bases. It has no chance in the world. Gerald has actually bridged the gap here.
Yeah, we are one massive Disruptor shot away from him being okay, but he still needs that. He is going to fire the first one forward. Gabe is going to avoid it at all costs. The second one will connect with a couple of units. I love how HeRoMaRinE splits off just like 2 or 3 units and puts them behind mineral lines. That is what allowed him to get 10 probes on the top side and gets him 4 probes now over here on the left, and also forces these Stalks to blink away. HeRoMaRinE, no high ground vision. Disruptor shot is not really going to connect, and there was no Widowmine there anymore either.
The High Templars were EMP'd, so they don't have any storms. It might not... I mean, the upgrades are so... We have to really talk about upgrades in these specific positions when Splash isn't available. But, I mean, it looks like it's just barely enough with the Immortals anchoring, with the Stalkers able to flexibly move around and behind Archons. HeRoMaRinE can't actually push through it. He's going to do a big lift off. He knows there have been observers. His Widowmine's constantly getting second shots. He's going to head to that third base once more for more probe damage.
Yep, and that's really annoying because once all those buy units are behind the middle line, that's not something you really engage with Zealots. And Disruptors are kind of slow, so it just takes a long time before they really get into position. Purification Nova blows up 2 Marauders there, but the Liberator is going to secure it. The double drop has unloaded, and the Stalker weapon is actually very vulnerable there. The Disruptor is going to run it in. This is a beautiful drop by HeRoMaRinE, and a great play by him to potentially seal the deal here. Even if these units will go down eventually, the units on the left side probably won't go down anymore. Well done. Beautiful army movement by HeRoMaRinE.
Yeah, really just finding the ways that we're going to get him the best results. You know, if he continued just pushing in one army at a time into a bunch of disruptors and chokes, he was losing out in the supply. At one point, it was only like a 30 supply difference, and then it quickly went to a 70 supply.